you, thank you. Sorry about that, a few technical problems as always with this internet thing, but hopefully we've got it fixed and you'll be able to see the videos. Thank you very much for the invitation to come here and speak. I've never been to Sofia before, so my first visit, and spent a little bit of time yesterday walking around, went to the Alexander Nevsky Church, and a nice mosque and a few other great sites here in the city, and really beautiful place. So thank you very, very much for the invitation. I'm going to talk a little bit today about the changes that are happening with digital and the impact that's going to have on content, and as a result of that, business models and the things that will have to change from a media owner's perspective, the agency perspective, and a brand perspective, and show you a couple different examples of where that's happening. But before we start, I'm just going to remind everybody where we are. When I first got into this business, it was 1995. I joined a company called Modem Media, which was, and Americans always say this, so I apologize in advance, but it was the first digital agency. And the guy that hired me was the guy who put the first internet ad online, the first banner. And Alan will love this. He defined the first IAB standards, believe it or not, because at the time nobody knew what this thing looked like. And we've come a long way since 1995. I mean, if you look at some of the statistics here, 70% of consumers research online before making a purchase. And that's a UK statistic, and I'm sure you've got something similar in your respective countries. But the internet has become absolutely fundamental, whether it's automotive or IT or whatever it may be, in terms of people researching and making a decision, or at least winnowing down the decision-making process. They may not buy online, but it's a really critical element in terms of the sales cycle. 90% of all online consumer journeys start with a search engine, and this statistic varies again by what industry you're in. So for automotive, it's closer to 75%. For IT, it's about 95%. But search has become the new homepage. It is where people start. And 40% of them use it just purely for navigation purposes because they're lazy and they don't want to type in the domain name. But the other 60% actually use it just for queries and for researching things. YouTube is now the second largest search engine in the world behind Google. And the amount of video being consumed in the UK, for example, it's gone from about 600 million minutes to 1.3 billion minutes just in the span of a year. So significant amount of video being consumed as broadband kicks in, and it's easy for people to view this content. More people watched Obama's inauguration online than on television. And it's one of those little statistics that suddenly grabs you. You think, my God, something has fundamentally changed. Now, it may have something to do with the fact that the inauguration was during the day. People were at work, and they couldn't turn on a TV set. But nonetheless, that is something significant in our industry that represents the changes that have happened. And I love this slide because I have to update it every month. It changes. A month ago, it was 1 billion downloads, and I've had to change it now to 2 billion downloads, and counting in terms of applications on the iPhone that have been downloaded. So mobile's starting to kick in. And then, of course, this old chestnut, which we always use, Facebook, we're a country. A month ago, this was the 4th largest country in the world. Now it's the 3rd largest country in the world. So the whole rise of social networking, and I mentioned this yesterday, just the amount of data that's being put into the internet, put into this cloud, if you will, this machine, as Kevin Kelly calls it from Wired Magazine, is unbelievable. 3,254 pieces of personal info in databases every week. So the amount of information that we're gathering on consumers and their behavior and what they like, what they dislike, is staggering. And a great opportunity for marketers to do something with that if they're given permission. And in a sense, to some extent, you remember the Matrix films, it was a couple years ago now, but we are being plugged into this machine. Are there any Star Trek fans here? Anybody know what Star Trek is? Star Trek? Yeah, we got a few over there. So it's a bit like the Borg. So everybody's sort of being plugged into this giant machine and feeding all this information. And in some aspects, we're actually becoming content as well. We're tagging ourselves with all the things that we like and putting into this machine and being associated with other tags that are out there. So things have certainly changed. They've certainly evolved. And it's a very complex world. It's not becoming any easier. That's the thing, and it's funny in our industry because we're perpetually beaten down on commission levels or fees as an agency. And the reality is our job is more complex than it ever has been. So for the clients and the brands that are out there, you need to make sure that you're compensating your agencies for dealing with all this, because it is very difficult. But the way that we've tried to simplify it is really all this content fits into 3 different areas, and we label it paid, owned, and earned. Paid media is the stuff that traditionally as a media agency we would go out and buy. So that could be as simple as banners, or it could be sponsorship, or anything you can think of. And that can be online or that could be offline. Owned would be the assets that you develop, the web content, the website, the online advertising, whatever it may be, that you've developed and you want optimized and you want accessible and you want people to somehow engage with that, either by going to the website or taking the content and distributing it out. And finally, earned, which is the big topic, is really more the social marketing space. And this is the advocacy that you generate, the content that people are developing on your behalf, or the people that are distributing the content on your behalf. So it's really free media. You don't really pay for it, and it's generating significant reach out there. And all 3 of these areas are connected. And we've developed this ecosystem that hopefully represents that. It also tells you the weather on a good day as well, some clouds moving on the left-hand side there. But it's all connected. So most of you will know that the number of links going into your site your natural search rankings will go up as a result of that.
Webit e-Business i Internet Marketing Expo